third unit for my Warhammer 40k army was a unit of Wraithguard. Now, these guys were kind of difficult for a few reasons. One, a lot smaller than the Warwalker, but lots of nooks and crannies and difficult places to paint in comparison to the Farseer. So, there's actually some details underneath the gun in the chest area that I have very much glossed over because you can't see them. So, what do you care? These guys are... This was also the first unit of guys I made, so it wasn't just one model, it was actually 5, for example. Having to build and paint all of these things and figure out which pieces go to where and whatnot. So there's a lot of things that happen with these group of guys. Realizing that similar models tend to have similar pieces, and the first one is a lot harder to sand and put together than the 5th one. They have slight varieties. They have differences in legs and arms and things like that. This gun is not built the exact same as this gun. These legs are not built the same as these legs, but you tend to get kind of a working knowledge of how to build the thing. So first one is most difficult, and then by the 5th one you kind of know how much pressure you need to put here, how difficult this piece is, and whatnot. I did learn that putting the arms on like any of these guys, a little difficult. So let me explain. That gun there that you see, where are you? That gun that you see, that entire piece, including the arm, is one piece, including the little fingers that you see there. There is a second piece that is a small arm that goes from the gun to the shoulder. So when you're attaching it to this model, you've built it from the ground up, put the leg, actually I don't remember exactly how this one works, but I want to say it's, by the time you're gluing the arms, you've got the legs and the torso together. So you have a fairly large piece that needs to be glued here, here, and there. So you're gluing both the arms and you're connecting the gun to the arm to both shoulders. I got better at it, and I've gotten better at it with other models as well, especially, but that was always tough. And I'm kind of glad that these shoulder pads are here because they can kind of cover up that connection point with maybe some sloppy gluing. So as I was putting these things together, I noticed like, oh yeah, there's some clever ways of hiding what are going to be problems for people throughout this process. Now, what else was interesting about putting these guys together? I did start to it's not kit bashing. Essentially, this entire squad is a 5-man squad, right? But when you buy the kit, it can make 2 different units. So one of them is called Wraithguard, and is essentially these guys with guns, and the other one is called Wraith Blades, which is these guys with either swords or axes. So they give you a lot of different things that they are designed to be for one or the other. So by the time I made this guy, I put this thing on top of his head, which was kind of a thing for the Wraith Blades. I used a different armor piece for his little toga. I don't know why they have little towels, but they do. And a couple extra armor pieces that are supposed to be for the Wraith Blades. So this was me trying to make this guy a little bit more unique. Maybe you could consider him the leader of these 5 dudes or something. This would be a concept I would expand on elsewhere. I am satisfied with these guys, but some of the smaller details were definitely difficult. I haven't tried to recess shade any of these guys because those recesses are very small. There's some points where I can tell that the paint got a little too thick and globbed on a little bit, but And as I'm staring at them now, I can see the details I could improve on. But there's 5 of them, and they're going to look better together in a group. So I think it's a halfway decent first job, and I did learn a lot about them. Now, why I chose these guys is when looking up stuff about the army, it seemed like Aeldari in general were kind of frail. Like maybe they could hit pretty hard, and maybe they could maneuver pretty well, and maybe they had a lot of tricks in their toolbox, but pretty frail. I mean, that's the stereotypical elf thing. In storyline, these guys are essentially robots piloted by the dead spirits of Aeldari from another world, so they're a little tougher. I picked them because they were tough. I picked them because those guns in front of them are kind of hilariously strong. Like, these guys have choices between 2 different guns, one of which is like, your tank is dead, or your horde of infantry is dead. So I chose your tank is dead for all of these guys. I forget what it's called, but they're tough. They don't move very fast. Their range isn't great. They're not very accurate, but it will blow a hole through your spaceship and out the other side. Now, these guys can be fielded as a 5-man unit or a 10-man unit. And a 5-man unit came in the box, and in the future I would like to get another 5-man unit to round out this group. I did also get a Spiritseer. This guy is designed to hang out with said ghost robots and point them in the right direction so that their destroy your spaceship guns actually hit. So in the game right now, this guy can pair with these guys as their leader, or I forget the proper term for it, and he essentially buffs their entire group. Right now the rules are they can hit better, and you can actually bring them back from the dead, which is pretty nasty when you consider they're tough and they can keep coming back. So that's this dude's main job, the Spiritseer. I'm sticking him in the same video because he's kind of their sponsor. The guy shepherding the ghost the ghost robots around. I had fun putting this guy together because he was a nice change of pace. He was another short one. There are a couple things I definitely messed up on. He's got this little roby swooshy thing. You might notice he doesn't have a roby swooshy thing on the other side. That's because in trying to get rid of a little sprue nubbin on the roby thing, I snapped it. So in the future, I was sure to pick my battles a little bit more when it came to little nubby things. If you look closely on these guys, in fact, you might notice, I'm not seeing them there, but there's one point where it was like almost impossible to get in there and take the stuff out. So that'd be a little bump underneath the trigger of the gun. But that's fine. You don't want to break your silly plastic toy soldier guy. So, but that's the Spiritseer, and those are the Wraithguard. They are a big part of my choices for the Aeldari army, essentially having a very tough group of soldiers in a otherwise frail army. So they're fun. At some point I'm going to get 5 more, and hopefully those ones will be a little bit better.